Greetings, Light Drive, Jadine Palmer here, Spirit Silver Moon. I'm going to do some quick little kind of oracle type things with some blurbs from my books. I'm going to start with just doing a little copal incense here just to cleanse and purify the space. To set the intention for that, for whatever. Person. I'll just move that around a little bit. Okay, if I can get my incense put away. Thanks. Okay, so I'm gonna pull something from this book right now, which is called Magic Quill, Sacred Sword, Poetic Messages of Divine Spiritual Healing. It's my son in the picture. And so what I chose today, I might just do one from each page. And they're just very short. Except that things show up backwards on here. Okay. What made you do what you did to someone you supposedly cared about? And now it's my task to transmute that spiritual lead into gold. So, you know, that might mean different things to different people. And it's interesting to interpret things, meanings, to find the meaning in something, if you care to. So that spiritual lead, so something that we experience. So sometimes people say something that happened to me, something that someone did to me. Maybe those are terminologies and maybe those aren't really correct. But something we experienced, okay? So something we experienced or witnessed. Something we felt through those experiences, like what it means to us. That might be a weight, it might be a burden, especially if we hold on to it. Sometimes people can let it go, you know, not really take it too personally. They might be able to see a broader picture, a broader perspective of a behavior, or why someone might have done or said something, and then what does that mean to us? Because that's what it's really showing us if we're paying attention, is why did that thing trigger us? Why did we feel hurt? Now sometimes people are just damn mean. They're obnoxious and provoking, which, if we're paying attention, is a reflection of something unresolved in them. They're showing you a snapshot of something where they're hurt or resentful. Okay, they might not realize it, and we might not either, and we might take it personally. And so if we are triggered by that and taking that personally, if we endeavor to look a little bit deeper, follow the root of that down, why is that triggering us? So if we even, so like let's say we've been through a certain circumstance that was hurtful, and now here's something similar and it's making us feel that way again. Okay, it's because we didn't heal the previous thing. Sometimes we don't know how, we don't have the tools. So when something is triggering us or triggering us again, that might be an invitation to go into that thing, to acknowledge it, to face it, to extract the wisdom from it, and then to do some visualization work to let that go. And that typically is going to include some forgiveness in some way, shape, or form, because that is empowering, that is freeing. And so when you strengthen a weakness or heal a wound or resolve that issue with yourself, which might include changing your perspective, then you're not holding on to resentment, then you're not holding on to old wounds, anger, pain, whatever it is, and then that thing or something like it won't trigger you anymore. And then when it's not triggering you, you're in your power. So observe your reactions. So when you do the work that I just described, you're transmuting that once weighty thing, that lead, into gold, because you're transforming it into something of a higher vibration. Even changing our perspective, realizing like I'm going to look at it from a different viewpoint, which means I understand it a little bit differently now that I don't have to hold on to it. That is a type of transmutation. That is alchemy. So that's kind of what that could mean if you want to look at that one in that way. The next page says, aspects of wisdom woven and shared, glimpsed or not, depending on how wide the door to the heart is open. So we glean aspects of wisdom through our experience, okay, whether we are aware of it or not. And that depends on how open we are. Sometimes we're very closed off because we have an ideology or a mindset of how we think it's going to be, probably to do with our upbringing, okay, or expectations or whatever. But we think that if it isn't happening a certain way, that it's wrong, or if it happens outside of what we believe to be right, that it's wrong, that we have to shun it, that we might judge it, okay. But we don't have pure knowledge of the situation at all in this realm. And so without that, we're looking at something like a small piece of a puzzle from a very limited viewpoint, a very limited perspective. Now, if we can be aware that we're seeing something from a limited perspective, then we don't have to be as judgmental or condemning of a thing. Even things that we feel are hurtful to us, because sometimes we think it's a thing, which could come through fear and insecurity. We think it's a thing, and we react to what we think it is, and we cause ourselves and others to suffer, and we feel even more separated from people. But oftentimes it's not even what we thought it was. We're reacting to falsehood, or we're reacting to very limited information or misinterpreted information. And then sometimes we'll find out more information to realize how we misinterpreted it. And that's helpful when that other knowledge comes in, so that we can realize it's not what we thought. And that is happening so much of the time, and we don't even realize it. So just to be open that there's bits and pieces of information that we don't possess. And therefore, if we judge something or someone, we're doing it in error. And we create suffering through that. So there's just a little pieces from the book we can try to use as little oracles. And that's it for today. Peace.